Hey Jolo fans, here we are at Jolo Winery over in Dobson. You can see over here we got a lot of about 5,000 baby vines over there, and those are from last year. So those are called grow tubes to keep the vermin from eating the leaves and the shoots and killing it before it gets a head start. But here's a mature vine. This is over 20 years old actually. This is Cabernet Franc. So we do things a little differently. We go with fresh arms or cordons or canes every year. So traditionally, you know, it's 50-50. Some locations, depends on the style of vine or how you're growing, but we grow ours with what's called VSP, or vertical shoot positioning. So each one of these right here were a shoot last year, brand new. So very traditionally, especially California or other parts where they don't have a lot of disease issues, and it's a blessing every year. It's, you know, they roll out of bed and everything's perfect. Here we got to struggle and fight like a day like today, and it's 74 degrees tomorrow, and these things should be sleeping, but we're fighting hopefully an early frost situation this year, hopefully not. So typically what they do is they do what's called spur pruning. So they'll take this cane, which is a cane which was last year's shoot. You can see right here, Joey, if you pull, so that's going to be a shoot. That's going to be a shoot. It's swelling up a little bit, look like little pussy willows. So this is what we're afraid of now, because see here, that little fuzzy starting to break out because it's so warm. This is so far in advance, it's crazy. We're about 5-6 weeks ahead of where we should be because of the weather. So anyway, so traditionally what people will do is they'll come through and they'll maybe cut here or here. So leaving these 3 shoots. So this is called spur pruning. So this is what's called now a renewal spur, because it's going to renew new shoots. So the reason we don't cut, if we're going this method, the reason most don't do this is the vines always bud out from the highest point down. So if I cut it here and I get a shoot, you can see this one here, this would be the shoot. But then if that gets frostbitten, we're cooked, or that's cooked. So we'd end up with, one shoot, and if that gets frosted, it's going to send out a secondary shoot, which has half the fruit. So if each shoot has about 2 clusters, this would have 1. And then if that gets damaged, they send off a tertiary shoot, which do not have fruit. That's just for photosynthesis to keep the vine surviving for another year. So what they'll traditionally do in seasons like this, you know, if this was April and we're getting ready, hey, this stuff's ready to go, we'd cut it down like this. But this kind of gives you an insurance policy. So now you have this one to go first, and then this one, and then this one. You see those 3 different buds? So this is what's called spur pruning. But I don't do spur pruning. So this is not a perfect situation, our weather. So you can see what old wood does. See how it feathers like this? These are all nooks and crannies, like a Thomas's English muffin for disease to hide from last year. So if you had late in the season, you weren't spraying because you're too busy harvesting, you get powdery mildew, downy mildew, phomopsis, botrytis, black rot, you name it. All those diseases can harbor in here and overwinter. And then as soon as you get a warm day, all this junk that it's been hiding in some dampness, it comes back. So if you can see this cordon, this is now called a cordon. We've laid it down this way, this arm, which was a cane at one point and now is a cordon here. So you can see this is starting to feather as well. So some of the older vines, if you see vineyards, the cordons are just like this. So now what happens when this brand new baby comes up and it's 1 inch tall and 2 beautiful clusters, now it rains and all the disease comes from here. It just makes a small little leap and that's infected. Then you're spraying, high test, high potency, bad things on your vine. So we try to do everything as organically as possible. So we want a fresh start every year. So instead of it just coming through super simple with a bunch of people doing this and cutting off, and they even have machines that do this, we have to make a determination at every vine. What is my new cordon for this year? So I can see here, last year's cane, these are good candidates. So obviously this one's a little smaller than this one. This one looks a little healthier. So you just want to make sure it's green. So we'll take a little piece off the top and see the green. Yep, so this is a good candidate for an arm for this year. So I'm going to remove this cordon that was 2 years old. This is what's called a bull cane. So if this was last year, see how thick it is? You want them just like this, like a number 2 pencil type of thickness. Bull canes sometimes don't provide, like this here. See the shoot was stunted from last year? So, and this one didn't even grow. So a lot of the bull canes do that. So they deprive the shoots from growing. So we're gonna get rid of this bull cane right here. Getting rid of that. I'm gonna take this off. Make our lives easy, cut smaller cuts. And see, this is the problem. If you're waiting too long, all this agitation now, you can rip off all these little buds and then you don't have shoots. So you got to be really careful, and timing is everything. So now we have this one for this year. So I'm going to just take this. We usually come by later and do this. We're going to take this and just kind of wrap it. And then we'll come back and tape it later. So like this, we'll take this off. And we'll put a little green tape on this right here. And that's it. So these will all shoot up. Every one of these little things will turn into this. They'll be 10 feet tall by August with 2 clusters on them. So now we're going to make a decision this way. So here, this is a really good candidate here. And I'm just going to make sure that it's green. We don't have any death at the ends. So see how nice and green that is? And it's starting to, the water is starting to drip out. That's now also a bad sign in the sense of timing. So that means this vine is all the carbohydrates that it stored from last winter. Now it's starting to release that and some sugar and some nutrients up into the tops of this. So in France, they call that water, it's basically the time of the tears. And in French, it's called le temps de pleurer. And that means the time of the tears. So that's the time of the tears. So this means that we're kind of fighting time. So February should be the coldest month of the year. It's going to be 74 tomorrow. So here, I'm going to use this for the new cordon. So we're going to get rid of this right here. There you go. I'm going to get rid of this. So every vine, so we have 80 acres times 900 vines per acre. So what is that? Mathematicians out there. It's a lot of vines that each one gets this treatment. So now this is a head right here. This is a good candidate for next year's. So this shoot could be next year's. I'm just going to cut it here. And same with this. So I'm going to take this here too. This could be a nice shoot for next year. So I'm going to leave this and this right here. And this one we don't need at all. It's basically what's called the sucker. It's suckering the energy out of the plant. And all this stuff here is going to clean it up. So now here you have for next year. This is, I don't know even how many vines that is. Joey, what is that? It's called 80,000 vines, close to it. Yeah? So there you have it. And this is too long. And that's what we have to go through every vine, 80,000 vines. So you can see what goes into growing world-class wine. It starts in the vineyard. And then our job as a wine grower is not to screw up the great product that we spend all year creating in the vineyards. So wish us luck, Jolo fans. Hope that it gets cooled off. Do your snow dances, whatever you got to do. We need some cool weather. See you soon, Jolo fans.